Hey everyone, wanted to come at you quick today with some things that nobody else will tell you about pistol red dot size. When I'm talking about pistol red dot size, I'm talking about the actual diameter of the red dot itself as you go into the purchasing decision of which optic are you actually going to mount on your pistol. A lot of pistol mounted optics come in a few different sizes of the actual dot itself, and you as a customer have to make a purchasing decision on that. Quick disclaimer, I'm obviously professionally affiliated with an optics manufacturer, and this is my personal page. This is my personal outlet. So here, really, I'm only interested in talking about optical concepts, more so than the products themselves. Vortex has plenty of mediums with larger audiences to promote products, and I'm on board with all that, and that energy is for them. In that context. Here I'm just talking in concept about things today, pistol red dot size. But being professionally immersed in people's purchasing decisions of pistol mounted red dots, I do come across a lot of people going through this process, and some of them, a lot of them, have a very firm opinion that small pistol red dot size is preferable to large red dot size. And if you have a preference, that's fine. I like 1911s. Plenty of people could present all kinds of compelling arguments as to why I shouldn't like 1911s, but no amount of things you can say to me will get me off that. I just like them, and that's just how it is. So if you just like small pistol red dots, cool. But I do feel like a lot of people who arrive at that opinion really just latched on to some loud voices in the industry and took it as their own, without really looking at it through a critical lens. Not to detract from the people who put out those opinions, but here's some things to think about on the counter side of that argument to figure out where you land in the middle to make a purchasing decision for you, unless you want to buy all the models in all the sizes and figure it out for yourself, which is cool too. But if you don't want to do that, you're somewhat trying to evaluate what all these people say and compare it against your preferences. So, some things to think about when you're thinking about pistol red dot size. A lot of people will say that they prefer a smaller pistol red dot because the smaller dot will cover up less of the target area, which seems fairly innocent to think, right? But let's think about this. In iron sights, the smallest pistol iron sight that you can buy is a Dawson 100, right? 1/10 of an inch in diameter there. You wouldn't end up with that on accident. You would probably buy it on purpose. That's the thinnest one you can get. If we do the math on what that is covering up target area wise, it comes out to 69 MOA. Now that sounds like a number I would make up, but it's actually 68.75 MOA, and Mr. Emmers in my 8th grade math class said I could round that up to 69. So there you go. 69 MOA of target area covered up, and that's if we could see the bottom half of the target. But when we use iron sights, the gun covers up half of the target area. So really, we're covering up a 20th of the target area. A fine set of iron sights would cover up with a 6 MOA dot for easy numbers. All right, so we're already a couple factors of 10 smaller than anything we're accustomed to in the world of iron sights, and nobody really had a problem with how much target area these covered up for the most part, especially in defensive and law enforcement shooting. Getting people off of the stock sights that come with the gun is a challenge enough, more so than, a target set of sights. So kind of an absurd argument if you completely consider it when we talk about red dots, that now all of a sudden this thing that's a 1/20th of the size of an iron sight is somehow now too big. It's covering up too much target area. Just saying. The other thing to think about when you're considering that is when we facilitate a red dot, or when you're using a red dot, what you're seeing is a facilitated reflection, right? Bright light in the back shines on a lens in the front. When that reflects off the lens, that is what you perceive as the red dot. Now, for that to work, we have to make the red dot brighter than whatever ambient lighting conditions are. For you to see the reflection definitively, we have to make it brighter. As we shine a light at a lens, there is always some amount of light reflecting and refracting. Always hard to say those two together. Reflecting and refracting in an undesirable direction. Your eye sees that as glare. Glare is what makes the dot not look like a dot and be less desirable. So if you're one of those folks who really prefers this to look like a clean, crisp dot, that is easier to accomplish depending on your astigmatism. Everyone has astigmatism to some extent. That's a whole other subject for maybe another video someday. But the cleaner you want this to appear as a perfect sphere circle, that is easier to do under more lighting conditions with a larger red dot. The smaller it gets, the brighter we have to make it for you to see it. All right, so one of the considerations you have to think about as you're contemplating dot size is larger dots tend to present cleaner than smaller dots. Smaller dots can get smaller, but they tend to starburst a little bit more because the LED is probably at a little higher intensity, pound for pound, when you're looking at them, than a larger dot for you to see them comfortably in any given lighting condition. All right, so how clean is the red dot going to look? Larger dots tend to present more cleanly than a comparable smaller red dot. The other thing to think about too is when we're target focused, which is the whole concept behind using a single focal plane aiming system like this. We want to be target focused. A lot of work goes into doing that and unlearning for a lot of us the 3 focal plane iron sighted system. The hard part of that is that the red dot, the brighter the red dot becomes, the more distracting it is to your eye, especially because it's closer to you. So the more the bright red thing that's moving around is intensified in your awareness, the more it draws your focus to it. So if you're trying to be target focused, it is going to be easier to be target focused, in my opinion, if you have a larger dot, because you will not need to use as intense of an illumination setting to have the same level of ease of picking up the red dot in your awareness. It's going to be easier to make those two things work together because it's not as bright, pulling your attention to it. I can run a comparable larger red dot at a lower illumination setting than I would need to on a small dot to get the same level of awareness of where the dot is in my field of view, if that is. So easier to be target focused, in my opinion, on larger red dots because we can run them at lower intensities, closer to that kind of that translucent effect, which would aid in the target focused technique that we're ultimately striving for. So just some things to think about. When I first started down the road on my pistol red dot journey, I was right there with Sage Dynamics and some of the other guys, and like, yeah, small red dots are the way. I kind of wish that we made a 1 MOA, and so I could be cool like all those guys. But by and large, commercially, small red dots sell better than larger red dots. So a lot of times, in my experience, the small ones were out of stock. The larger ones were available. So I ended up with some of the larger ones. I spent a lot of time with 6 MOA red dots because they were easy to get. And in doing all that, and then going back to smaller red dots when they were available, I actually found that I prefer a comparable larger red dot. So in our product line, we have 3 and 6 by and large. I tend to actually prefer 6 because the 6 MOA red dot I can run at a lower illumination setting. It's more visually pleasing to me to be target focused and have a clean red dot that is not pulling my visual attention towards it. Not to say that it's wrong to pick a small red dot, but this is something to think about as you just try to decide where you fit on the pendulum swing of red dot size. Target area, kind of absurd because they're already by a factor of 20 smaller than anything available in iron sights. Larger dots present cleaner than smaller dots because they can be easily visible at lower illumination settings because they're bigger. It's a bigger spotlight. And because they're running at lower intensities, we can be relaxed in our awareness, visual awareness of where they're at without, we can be relaxed in being aware where they're at without distracting from what we want our visual focus to be, which is the target. Boom, got it all out. So just some things to think about as you're wading through a decision on which red dot size to pick. Now, I really can shoot any of them, but given the choice, I would actually probably fall on the larger half of the spectrum of red dot size. Take that for what it's worth and weigh it into your purchasing decision. If you have any questions on this that you'd like me to expound upon, leave them in the comments below. And who knows, maybe we'll make another video. See you guys on the range.